My straw reaches across the room and starts to drink your milkshake. I drink your milkshake. I drink it up!
Don't bully me, Daniel!
Daniel Day-Lewis is in a small pool of actors that many would consider some of the greatest of all time, and I think you can attribute his success to many things: his meticulous process for taking a role, his fleshed out ideas of the character's feelings, needs and desires, or the ability to fully embody a character, from movement to mannerisms to the way he talks.
Why are you looking at me like that?
The thing in particular I have noticed whilst watching his filmography lately is his understanding of the importance of a character's voice and the power it can have over an audience.
With the voice being such a deep personal reflection of character, of who we are, and that voice may be quite a surprising reflection of who we seem to be in some cases, but it is undoubtedly, it's kind of a fingerprint of the soul, I think.
Yes.
I think that's a pretty perfect way of putting it. A character, or any living person's voice, can show you where they're from, where they've been, the power they hold, whether they're hiding something, and whether they want to show you something. And these are things that Daniel Day-Lewis understands and demonstrates with different ways his character speaks.
Show the world that democracy isn't chaos.
There's a reason a lot of his characters are so mysterious and intriguing. Sure, a part of that credit goes to the writing, but Daniel Day-Lewis has the ability to hook your eyes and ears towards his character. You feel his presence every time he's on the screen. He understands the importance of tone.
I drink your water.
Pitch.
Could you hear what I said?
Speed.
Give me the blood, Eli. Let me get out of here. Give me the blood, Lord!
And volume.
Of course, within that, we're going to develop a lease. What's that?
And how it can change the dynamic of a conversation and the dynamic between characters. He is able, with the use of his voice, to perfectly portray what's going on inside a character and what that character desires. Take this clip from Gangs of New York. His character Bill the Butcher is reminiscing about a man he killed in the past.
He spared me because he wanted me to live in shame. This was a great man.
Just from the struggling intakes of breath between lines, you can understand so much about the regret the character feels and how he is struggling to reconcile with it. There are so many examples of this control of breath and voice where you can learn so much about the character that wasn't directly in the script. Daniel Day-Lewis has the ability to make a scary character seem vulnerable just through breathing. Another example is a few minutes earlier in the same scene where Bill the Butcher tells Amsterdam his age. When you watch it, try and think about the thought process of the character.
I'm 47. 47 years old.
For me, I see the first statement about his age as an almost smug statement. The character is proud he's got this far in life. There's a hint of a smile when he says it, the eyebrows raise and the head tilts up like he's showing how strong he is. Bill the Butcher then pauses, looks away, and then looks back quickly as if to look for recognition from Amsterdam, then repeats the line with a big sigh of breath, showing the hardship the character's been through. Yes, okay, it's a little moment within a 2.5 hour movie, but this is the kind of complexity that Daniel Day-Lewis brings to every single scene with his character. He is someone who can truly disappear when portraying a character. In my mind, I don't see Daniel Day-Lewis when watching There Will Be Blood, I only see Daniel Plainview. There is no Daniel Day-Lewis in Gangs of New York, only Bill the Butcher. There is no Daniel Day-Lewis in Lincoln, only Lincoln. Daniel Day-Lewis is known for his method acting techniques, and whilst it's almost become an ego fuel for a lot of actors to say they're doing the same thing, you can tell Daniel Day-Lewis does it for the right reasons. Staying in character allows him to discover who that character really is, so he can develop all the mannerisms and quips that make him so interesting and unique. His rigorous crafting of a character allows each one to look, sound and act completely different from the last. The sound of the character is helped by his incredible range and execution of the accents. One of the most important aspects of a character's accent is making sure it's not distracting and taking you out of the immersion. I'm going to play 2 clips here, and you tell me which one feels like a real, believable character compared to one which just feels like an actor doing an accent playing make-believe.
When that mad bastard out there threatened to shoot you, I was happy. I swear to God, honest to God, I was happy. I was delighted. You know why? Because finally it was all over. It was over!
Never confuse shit with chocolato.
Woof, 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 woof.
The accent isn't only not distracting, but it's also a perfect Belfast accent. An Irish accent is not an easy thing to pull off, as you can see with Leonardo DiCaprio in Gangs of New York.
Any of them got the sound of the dead rabbits?
I think most people will agree that we see the best of Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood. The character of Daniel Plainview is one of the best and most complex characters ever created, and whilst a lot of credit has to go to Paul Thomas Anderson, who seems to have a knack for making some of the most intriguing characters in cinema, I personally feel that the character is so much more than it was on the script, thanks to Daniel Day-Lewis fully bringing him to life with his own ideas. It's a film about power in the oil industry, but mainly it's about power between characters, and it's something that Daniel Day-Lewis encapsulates perfectly with the use of his voice. The power dynamic between characters swings on a pendulum throughout a scene. Daniel Day-Lewis uses his voice in order to show the power struggle through pitch, speed and volume. Take these two scenes between Daniel Plainview and Eli, two characters both looking for power over one another. One nearer to the start of the movie where Eli has the power in conversation, and one at the end of the film where Daniel has the power. Notice the difference in speed, pitch and volume when Daniel is talking.
I know there is.
It's very expensive to drill. To get it up and out of the ground. You ever tried that before?
How much is it?
Costly.
Well, our oil sits right up on top of the ground.
I believe that's called seepage. Doesn't necessarily mean there's anything underneath.
What would you give us for it?
I don't know. It's called drainage, Eli. See, I own everything around it, so of course I get what's underneath it.
But there are no derricks there. This is the bandy track. Do you understand?
Do you understand, Eli? That's more to the point. Do you understand?
In the first clip, Daniel is talking much faster, louder, and with a higher pitch, as he feels uncomfortable and wants to out-negotiate Eli, knowing that Eli has the better position. He's rushing his sentences to push back and speaking with a higher pitch in order to seem more reasonable and welcoming. In the second clip, Daniel knows he's won. He wants to soak it all up. Excuse the pun. He takes his time with the statements, letting them sink into Eli. You can see his contempt for the character with the more aggressive and arrogant tone. Again, we see it in the scene that everyone, regardless of whether they've seen the movie or not, can quote.
I've abandoned my child!
Daniel Day-Lewis uses every ounce of talent and control in this scene. We see him trying to fight against the power that Eli has. When Eli makes him say statements referring to religion, Daniel is dismissive and doesn't care about what's being said, so the statements come out quickly without any thought.
I am sorry, Lord.
I am sorry, Lord.
I want the blood.
I want the blood.
Then Eli talks about his son, which Daniel abandoned, and we see a pause and a response of regret as he barely manages the word.
You have abandoned your child.
I've abandoned my child.
Then back to dismissive statements about things Daniel doesn't care about.
I will never backslide.
I will never backslide.
I was lost, but now I am
I
found.
was lost, but now I'm found.
And to finish it all off, back to his child, in which Daniel finally gives in and loses the fight for power.
Say it. I abandoned my child.
Say it louder. Say it louder.
I've abandoned my child!
All actors act with their voice. Of course, it's a necessity to communicate. But Daniel Day-Lewis doesn't just use his voice to say the lines of a script. Instead, he uses it to the fullest to communicate to the audience everything about that character. It makes for some of the most intriguing and real characters ever put to screen. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to like and subscribe. So yeah, have a good one.